because I want to make sure that we can give that to those folks that couldn't make it on tonight. All right, so as we always talk about every week, guys, we love to call this presentation "How to Win the Money Game." And when I saw this about 7 years ago or so, I was actually working in a completely different industry, in the auto industry, right? And one of the things that I knew in that industry was I made a lot of money, but I also still wasn't quite winning the money game. I knew how to lose it. I was spending more than I had coming in. And a group this size, I'm sure you guys can relate to what I'm talking about there, but one of the things that I wanted to learn was how do I get on the right side of things when it came to my finances. And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to break it down into two parts tonight. The first is to share with you who we are at PFA and what we do. What are we doing in the community? What problems are we looking to solve? And the reason why we break it up into two parts is I want to make sure that it resonates for you. If it connects for you, if the information jives with you, if it really makes sense to you, then the opportunity is going to really blow your mind. But if it doesn't resonate with you, I'm going to have a break point in the presentation tonight, and you can simply sign off at that point because we don't want to waste your time. All right? Okay. So as I mentioned, there's always something to solve when it comes to any product or service in the marketplace. And I'm going to put several things up on the screen here. And these are the things that I'm going to go through in the next 30 minutes or so to give you a solution to. I'm not going to read them all off to you, but I'm going to highlight a few of these bullet points here. For example, in the case of business ownership, I love to use the chat. I love to keep this interactive. I just want to make sure you guys aren't falling asleep on me. So I will be asking you guys some questions. If you can answer in the chat for me, that would be great. But first things first, you know, if we had to ask people, as we can see on the screen here, since the 70s, business ownership has been on the decline. But if we had to ask some of the reasons why, maybe let's start with talking about what are the advantages and / disadvantages. So if you had to think for yourself, what are some reasons why people love to get into business for themselves? Go ahead and put that in the chat for me. I'd love to hear from you. What are some good reasons why people love to own a business? What do you think? What do you think? Let's see. Time freedom. Yep, that's a good one. What else? Control. Well, I like that, Alan. That's good. Control. Time flexibility. Okay. What else? Want to be their own boss? Yep. All right. Financial freedom. Okay. Own your own schedule. I'm noticing there's two tax advantages. I love that. I love there's two main kind of themes amongst the answers there. Time and freedom, right? Little more money and a little more time, right? All right, so let's go on the other side. What are some disadvantages to being in business for yourself? Like, what are some of the things that stop people from doing it? Go ahead and put that in the chat for me. Why don't, yeah, I love that. Risk, yep, big one. Capital, maybe they don't have any money to get it started. Cost, it costs a lot to start a business of your own. Okay, risk, we'll see a few times. All right, fear, that's a big one. People do have fear around starting a company of their own. And it's very few times that we see people succeed in business, right? So we're going to address that tonight. This idea of lifestyle, I'd love to break that up into two words, life and style. I think, you know, based on the answers that I heard most of you share there, I think a lot of us could agree that a good quality of life usually has more time involved, right? Time to do the things that we love with the people that we love. And American culture associates style with more income and more money, nicer homes, nicer cars, nicer vacations. And so here's the challenging part for most people. How do we get time and money in the same place? And I think if there's any of us out here that have ever had a job where we had vacation time, one of the things that we always looked forward to was paid vacation. And the reason is simple. We want to have time and money in the same place. The problem is we got to put in 50 weeks of work before we get back to ourselves. So we're going to address that. This idea of retirement, it's getting tougher and tougher for people to retire successfully these days, guys. And there's a variety of reasons for that. And it actually kind of ties into the final two here. I'm going to hit on this bigger one down at the bottom here, this idea of chronic and critical illnesses. You know, people are saving for their futures, they're investing for their futures, but for whatever reason, the average working person, the average family is still having an uphill battle when it comes to retirement. And sometimes some of the bigger reasons have to do with illness, right? As you can see with this second paragraph down here, 60% of bankruptcies and 40% of foreclosures are directly tied to critical illnesses. And what are those critical illnesses? Things like heart attack, stroke, and cancer, the big three they call it. And so why is that something we need to talk about and discuss tonight? Well, it is one of the biggest contributors to people's lack of financial stability later in life. And so we want to address that. So here's our focus at PFA. What if we can give you one solution that would solve every one of these issues on the screen? Would you be willing to listen in for the next 20 minutes with me? All right, that's my hope. Because I can assure you that if you learn the information I'm going to share with you tonight, it can transform not only your financial situation, but generations to come because the access to information is now there for you. All right. And so that's the goal. So here's how we do it. 5 key bullet points. We're going to talk about reallocating old money. We're going to talk about buying what they call the right kind of life insurance, planning what's called a tax-free retirement, using index strategies, and then finally something called getting upside potential of savings with no downside risk. And like I mentioned, I'm just going to take about 30 minutes or so to unpack these. And we'll also save some time at the end for Q&A if you guys have them, okay? So please, please, please write your notes down, write down your questions. You can also use the chat if you have them, and I'll make sure that we address those at the end. All right, let's first talk about this idea of buying the right kind of life insurance and why this is a part of the foundation to any financial plan and strategy. Well, we know millions of people have it. You know, I think as of right now, 64% of the US population has some type of life insurance in force, whether it be with their work plans or a private plan of their own. And there's only 2 different ways traditionally that you can own it. You could rent it for a specified term of years, or you can buy a more permanent approach that doesn't expire, which will have a small savings account attached to it. In either case, I think we can all agree the only way to access the quote unquote death benefit is there has to be a death. And this is what's kind of been burned into most people's mindsets when they think of the ways that they can protect their families and their assets and their futures, okay? But there's a very, very different way of doing things today. And a couple of things to note on this, by the way. Renting your insurance is the most popular, right? It's something called term insurance, really small investment, maybe for 10, 15, 20 years at a time, maybe even 30 years at a time. But here's the unfortunate news, 99% of term policies never get exercised, meaning most people outlive them. That's the reason they're so inexpensive. So if I'm looking at a few people on the screen here, Kathy and Bernadette and Jesse, if you're paying 20 bucks a month for 20 years and you didn't die in that 20-year period, what happens to all those little $20 payments you were making? Where does it go? Do they give it back? They do not. It, in most cases, becomes 100% profit to the insurance company. So that is just, again, what's available to us in the marketplace. We want to teach something a little bit different. Here's our focus. We believe your life insurance should be there for you while you're alive, not while you're dead. Put a 1 in the chat if that sounds a little bit better already. That you can actually access life insurance you don't have to die to use. Does that sound better? Number 1? I don't know. Maybe there's only 1 person out there that gets that. All right. So a few of you have your lights on a little bit. Here's what I noticed. I noticed that when I had a conversation with people about what life insurance was to them, it wasn't really something that people like to talk about. Very important, of course, because we know it's important to protect our families, but it was never really of value to the person that owned the product. It was always of the value to the family they left behind. But I want to address something that's very, very important. There are some very real financial issues that happen to a family before death in most cases, and that's getting sick. And no one's talking about how do we protect against those financial challenges. That's what we want to focus on today. I'll give you an example. Let's say we call this a $1 million living policy. Okay, I die too soon, my family gets $1 million. That's life insurance. But what if I come down with a major illness like heart attack, stroke, cancer? Wouldn't we all agree that we're more than likely to become ill first before death for most people? I think that would be a resounding yes, right? So what if we can help people access up to 90% of their life insurance and they didn't pass away? Would that be of help to somebody? I don't know. I saw the value in that. But let's take it a little bit further. What if we can also attach a tax-free withdrawal of savings strategy to it as well? See, life insurance is so much more than a death benefit. It's also a financial tool for wealth generation, okay? And so here's the thing. Our focus is really simple. We want to focus on the new way of doing business, even though what I just shared with you has been around since 1937. Isn't that crazy? This idea of life insurance you don't have to die to use is not new, but it's the new way of doing business in today's economy, okay? Let's go a little bit further. You can purchase individual threat coverage. So if you want, you can buy a life insurance policy with cancer policies on it. You can buy a heart attack policy. You can buy a stroke policy, and you're going to pay a lot for it. That's the traditional way of doing it. Our focus, how about we just give you all those benefits and not charge you extra for them? Meaning, what if I already have a traditional life insurance policy right now? What we're saying is, how about we give you the exact same premium and add all those coverages for you at no cost? Would that be okay? Put a 3 in the chat if that's okay to you. See, I talked to a lot of financial professionals, and one of the things that I learned is I have yet to come across somebody who can tell me that life insurance where you have to die is better than life insurance where you don't. I just can't have that conversation with enough people, okay? That's why we talk about this ad nauseum, all right? Let's go further. Here's one of my favorite slides. If there was one slide that told you what we do on one screen, it's right here. Take a look at these 4 categories here, guys, okay? And think for yourself how many of these you already have. I'll tell you my story. About 7 years ago, I already had a life insurance policy with AIG, and I have my 401k retirement plan, which is the most popular retirement plan out there. Here's what this strategy allowed me to do, and this is going to go back to one of our first bullet points. I did a reallocation of funding, okay? I left my 401k where it was, I canceled my life insurance, and I stopped my 401k contribution cold turkey, just cut it off. I took the money that I was saving there, and I simply reallocated the funding here, lateral move. Didn't even change my budget, moved it from one place to the other. But because I consolidated into one place here, now I picked up disability income and those living benefits we just spoke about. But what does that even mean, and why would I want to do that? Well, today I have a $5 million strategy here. What does that mean? Well, it's life insurance. So if I pass away, my wife and children are covered. If I became disabled, I can access up to 1 to 2% of that as monthly income, a little over 4 years. And if that didn't happen, if I came down with a major illness like heart attack, stroke, cancer, I can access up to 90% of that while I'm alive. Let's say up to a maximum of 1.5 million. And here's the wild thing. This is what I really fell in love with. What if I didn't die? What if I didn't get sick? These guys allow me to convert my $5 million death benefit into retirement. All I have to do is turn 60 and be in the policy at least 10 years. So this was a very different approach for me, guys, because I can assure you, I don't care how much I ever saved in that 401k, I was not going to get to 5 million after taxes by the time I was 60 years old. Today, I plan on making it to 60, and I'm pretty sure plenty of you can agree with me on that you want to do the same thing. The average life expectancy is much higher than that. So in all likelihood, I have an ultimate safety net around multiple areas of my life now. Whereas think for yourself, how many of these 4 do you currently have? And if you don't have all 4, that's what we're here to talk to you about. How do we get you all 4 in one solution? Okay, this is powerful. Now, if you have multiples of these already, like I did, I was investing with multiple companies. That might be your situation. All we're looking to do is consolidate it for you and only charge you for one of these categories, your life insurance policy. See, if you're doing business with multiple carriers or multiple companies to do what I just showed you on the screen, you're paying for every single one of those boxes separately. What we're doing, we're going to focus on the cost of life insurance and build in the other 3 at no additional cost. That's our focus, okay? Because again, you don't have to do business with us, but you're still going to have to figure out about these 4 categories for you and your family, okay? All we're trying to do is consolidate and make it simple. Here's what really helped me change the game on how I view my retirement going forward. This is an actual snapshot of the stock market between 1997 through 2011 to show you 2 types of savings plans. The blue line represents anything tied to the stock market. So like a 401k like I had. As I save money, economy's doing well, I earn interest in good economies. But if the economy crashed or if I had a recession, my money went along with it accordingly. And no one would argue that. We're all pretty familiar with that. That's the blue line strategy on the screen. Now, why do I use this window between 97 through 2011? Well, those 2 big dips on that blue line on the screen were 2 of the biggest recessions in the last 100 years. 2000, we had Y2K and the dot-com bust, and then we had 2001, 9/11, and then the market crashed. And of course, historically, the economy always rebounds, but the unfortunate part is it always rebounds just in time for the next one, doesn't it? 2008, financial crisis, right? And then it came roaring back in the 2010s, and then what happened in 2020? COVID. There's always something happening to the economy every 7 to 10 years. The question we have to ask ourselves is, how many of those can we financially survive, because it affects our long-term strategy? That's threat number 1, market loss. Threat number 2, taxes. Most people have tax-deferred retirement accounts, which means that they save off their checks now pre-tax, but they pay taxes later when it's time to retire. So here's the question, and maybe I'll have you guys answer in the chat here. Do you believe taxes are going up or down in the future? What do you think? Put in the chat for me what you think. Taxes going up or down? Okay, Mercedes says up. Who else? Anybody else? Up? Okay. All right, I see a lot of ups there. Now, this is interesting. Many of us are answering the same way, which means that, and I'm sure many of you have different backgrounds and you have different parts of the country you're from. I think we can all agree we got a tax issue headed our way. And things like national debt, stimulus packages, all the crazy things that happened during COVID, that's going to come due at some point. And we are the ones that are going to have to pay for that. Okay, so now let's enter in the gold line, something called an index account built within a life insurance policy. So here's what really opened my eyes a little bit. I didn't even know the gold line existed. And I'm learning something. The difference between those that have wealth and those that don't is access to information. This was not information I had access to before. I do now. And so what I noticed, Take a look at the years of recession, what happens in the gold line. See how it kind of flat lines there? That's something called a 0% floor, meaning anytime the market drops below 0% growth, they freeze my equity for my retirement. So I get to contribute in the good years with interest, but I don't have to contribute to the bad years when there's market loss. Put a 1 in the chat if you love the idea of not losing money. Anybody else here don't like losing money? I know I don't like losing money. I don't go to casinos for that very reason, right? All right, so I think we'd all agree that that sounds like a pretty good strategy. The second part of the strategy is probably the most important one, though. The reason why we're talking to people about a life insurance strategy is because of the tax code. Because we're under the umbrella of life insurance, all those gains that you're seeing in that gold line on the screen become tax-free distribution through policy loans, which means that if the tax rate continues to rise, it doesn't affect my retirement because I have a tax-free one. You see, and this becomes very, very important, gang. Let me give you an example. Currently, we're at about a 30% average tax rate in the United States, 30%. Meaning if you had $1 million in your retirement and you're going to retire tomorrow, Uncle Sam's going to take 300 grand out of that. 300 grand right off the top. So not only do you have to account for that, but that's just what it is today. And we all agree that it's going to go up by the time most of us are ready to retire. Okay. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you sick and tired of Uncle Sam being in your pocket? Okay. I know I was, right? And if he continues to take more, I'm just hoping that if he's going to take more, at least he can fix the potholes on my street. That'd be nice. Okay. So anyway, so that's kind of why we talk about life insurance as a strategy. But let's go further. There's also some tax advantages, as we talked about. Most people are doing the 401k, which is the most popular. They deduct their contribution, they defer it for later. What we want to do is we want to defer it, accumulate it, and keep it tax-free on the way out. That's the major strategy we're talking about. Finally, let's talk about money, how money works, okay? What we call the rule of 72 is actually a math equation. It's not something we created. This has been around for a long, long time, okay? Albert Einstein actually discovered it. And the rule of 72 simply says this: take the number 72 and divide it by the average rate of interest that you're earning on your money. And that will tell you the amount of years it takes to double your money. So let's use an example here. Think about your local bank, whether it be Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. What are they giving right now on average on your savings accounts if you put money in there? Okay, what percentage do they give you on interest in a savings account? What do you think? Put it in the chat for me. What's the average interest rates that they're giving us? Anybody know? 1.5, 1, okay. All right, quadruple 0.1, okay, 0.7, less than 1. All right, so I see different answers there. Okay, looks like the common answer. Let's say 1. Let's say I can get 1% interest in my savings account. So here's what the rule of 72 says. No matter how much money you have in that account, based on a 1% rate of return, it'll only take you 72 years to double your money. That's not bad, huh? Only 72 years. How many of those we got? Right? So that's a problem. Now, obviously, this is not where most people want to invest their money is with the bank because of that very reason. But here's how the banking system works in the United States. Okay? Let's say Madi has $100,000 and she puts it in the bank. Okay? And they're going to give her 1% interest on it. Okay? No problem. And Mercedes needs a personal loan for $100,000 from the same bank. Here's the wild thing about how the banking system works. They're going to loan Mercedes Madi's $100,000. But they're going to charge Mercedes 5% interest and only give Madi 1% interest. And they keep the difference of 4. Isn't that wild that they actually make money on money that doesn't even belong to them? That's the banking system, okay? What we want to teach people is a very different thing, okay? How about we can kind of get rid of those guys altogether and you can become your own situation, if you will, financially. Here's what I mean. If you were earning 4% interest on your strategy, you double your money every 18 years. 8% every 9 years, right? Our strategy in the last 20 years has averaged 14%. Okay, so we're definitely ahead of the curve here. We want to help people grow money, but I wanted to talk about that first. All right, so that's part 1. Okay, and I'm right on schedule here. That's part 1 to kind of discuss with you what it is that we do in the community, guys. Okay, first things first, I want to simplify this. We talk about helping families with a life insurance they don't have to die to use and teach them about tax-free retirement strategy. And we do all of that in one solution, okay? That's what we do in the community. Now, if you believe that you could see the value in something like that for yourself, put a 2 in the chat for me. Is there value in what you just saw? Put a 2 in the chat. Because I'm curious. I'm curious to see if people actually see that there's a need for this for themselves. Because here's why it's important I ask that question. If you don't see the need in something like this for yourself, you won't do anything in being an advocate to others, right? You don't believe in it. So that leads me to my second question. Put a 3 in the chat if you believe you know somebody that needs to learn about this. Put a 3 in the chat if you know somebody who needs to learn about what I just shared with you. Life insurance they don't have to die to use, and a tax-free retirement strategy. Okay. All right. I see a few of them out there. All right. Last question. Would you like to get paid to share it with those people? Because that's why you're invited to be on this call. We need help. We're in the process of expanding like crazy, even though the strategy that we just shared with you guys is from our preferred partner that's 175 years old. The company that offers the strategy I just shared with you has been around since 1848. Okay, this is not new information. All right, we're just trying to get it out to more people because we believe people need to know. But here's the other thing that's crazy about that. In 2022, which was about a year ago, our company did $110 million in sales on the one strategy I showed you tonight. That's pretty powerful, 110 million. Now, here's what's cool about that. We barely scratched the surface because chances are if you're brand new tonight, you're probably hearing about this for the first time. We have more room to grow and we need your help. So here's our focus, okay? I'm gonna talk about 2 key bullet points here. 1, strategic alliances. The alliance between our owner, David Carroll at PFA, and Mehran Asadi, the CEO of a company called National Life Group, that 1848 company that was founded. They've come together and said, hey, you know what? We need to tell people the story of living benefits. That, hey, you know what? They don't have to lose their financial lives when they have a health crisis in their family. Guys, 1 in 3 people will attract cancer at some point in their lifetime. It's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's a matter of when for most people. All right, think about that. There's 25 of us on this call. That's at least 8 of us. That is crazy if you think about the stats, okay? So if we look at those realistic numbers, what are we doing to help people with their financial lives when they go through it is our focus, okay? The other is we have a leadership track record. We know what we're doing, okay? As Mercedes mentioned, you know, I personally learned coming from the car business. I didn't know anything about finance and insurance. I came over from the auto industry, and now to this day, been out of a job for 5.5 years. I'm what I call unemployable, and it's because I learned from leaders that knew what they were talking about and how to build a business. And now today, we can enjoy a more free lifestyle. Okay, flexible schedule, more time with my family, and a great income. So I'm going to talk about that briefly, but I want to kind of hit on those because I think that matters. This isn't a startup, okay? This is far from it. We know exactly what we're doing. We just need your help. Very clear vision. We want to bring prosperity back to the average household, okay? Now, how do we do that? 2 ways. 1, a great product to protect our families, okay? A way to protect our families differently in crisis. Number 2, an opportunity. See, I don't believe that we have a savings problem. I don't believe we have an investment problem. I think we have a cash flow problem. Any of you guys notice that inflation tends to take up a lot of our money these days, right? Has cost of living changed where you live? Okay, has groceries gone up? How about gas? Has anybody noticed that there's things that are changing outside of your permission, right? But here's the math thing that we have to answer for ourselves. Are we keeping up financially? Is the rate that things are going up, is my income going up with it? That's the real question. And this is where we want to focus on bringing more prosperity back. People need to make more, and they need to make a lot more. Okay, and we want to talk about that in the coming slides. Here's how we're going to help anybody on this call do that. Assign you what's called a certified field trainer, somebody who's already successful in what we do. They know the road, and they're going to be assigned to you as a new agent with us, teaching you exactly how to get this thing off the ground. This is a highly regulated industry, so it does require a state license. It does require training. It does require compliance. And so we have a certified field training program to have somebody that's going to walk you through that process to make sure you're legal and you're ready to rock and roll. That matters. That's like hiring a personal trainer in the gym. I think we can all agree that the most effective way to get into shape is to hire somebody who does it for a living, to teach us how to get in shape, what to eat, what not to eat, all that kind of good stuff. This is the same thing for what we do in business, okay? Let's go further. This is one thing I really love. Is a lot of cool things here. No major investment to get started. Literally getting your license and joining our brokerage is all the investment you have. Okay, no franchise fees. There's no ongoing investments you need to make here. No job risk. This was big to me. I didn't have to leave my job. I could start this out part-time. No experience required. We do all the training in-house. Flexible schedule. When I saw this, I was making really good money in the car business, guys, but I worked weekends and I worked holidays, and that gets old after 12 years. Okay, and I wanted a more flexible schedule. That's what I was after. Unlimited territory. I am now licensed in 27 states. And lastly, unlimited advancement. There's no ceiling on what you can do here. How about any ladies on this call? I see a few on my screen. How about you ladies out there? Would it be okay if we paid you the exact same as a man if you did the same work? Would that be okay? Right? Because I know there's a very big disparity in corporate America. Okay. And that needs to shift. That needs to change. And I'll be the first to tell you, in our company, 60 to 70% of our highest achievers are female. I love that. Ladies crush it in what we do. And here's why. Here's why. Okay. And this is my personal kind of opinion and why I believe ladies are killing it in what we do. Well, you have innate mama bear instincts. And mama bear instincts say this: I'm going to protect my family. And what do we do in the product that I showed you? We protect. We protect families from crisis, and we protect family from financial crisis later. So yeah, and oh, by the way, there's a second part to that. Ladies are amazing networkers. Ladies know how to make friends. Us guys, we got ego problems. Okay, we're still working on it, right? But ladies love to network. It's just a natural innate ability. So that's why ladies do really, really well with us. Okay, of our 12 agents that are 7-figure income earners, 7 of them are ladies. Okay, that's pretty wild, pretty amazing. All right, so why do we call it a great part-time opportunity? Then we'll wrap this up. Okay, one, it only requires that you sit down with people part-time. Okay, if you notice, we've been talking for about 25 minutes, which means that you already know what I do in a 20-minute conversation. So once you're licensed and you're trained, here's what I love. Okay, you receive what's called a 55% contract. Now, what does that mean? Let's say, Marty, you had a coworker, a family member, a friend who you found out was already saving a couple $100s a month to their 401k or a savings account or under their mattress, whatever. And you taught them how to put that here instead. $250 a month, let's say. And they put that here, and now they get all 4 boxes: life insurance, retirement, disability, and living benefits. If you taught them how to do that for better value here, your commission on that one sale will be $1,650. Okay, that's pretty good part-time money. I think we could all agree on that, right? Because I don't know about you, but it would take me hours upon hours to take home another $1,600 when I worked a traditional job. Okay, and that's for a lot of people, that might be a whole week. And here's what I know. Here's what I know. If you're open-minded enough to learn what I just shared with you, to educate more people in the community, you could do that once a month, 100%. 100%, I know you could do it because you see the value in what we're doing. Remember, it's life insurance you don't have to die to use. It's not a sales pitch. Okay, you either want life insurance where you have to die or life insurance where you don't. All we're trying to teach people is that there's a different way of doing it. Okay. Second thing, if you believe that you can do that once a month, you could probably do it once a week because we don't limit you. And oh, by the way, there's no quotas. If you don't sell nothing, you don't make nothing. You sell something, you make something. Okay, it's completely up to you. You're independent as an agent, and you do not have a manager, a boss telling you what to do every day. Only encouragers and coaches and mentors teaching you how to do it better. Right? Here's my encouragement. If you made your 4 sales a month, Alan, I would encourage you to take one of those commissions, deposit it right back into your own policy. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, if you did that at a 4% rate of return over a 30-year period, you'd have 1.1 mil in tax-free money. Not bad. If you got it at 8%, it's over 2.4 mil. As I mentioned, the last 20 years, we've averaged 14%. It just means it's going to be better. So what did I just do there? We showed you a great product, but hey, wait a minute. I want to teach people how to make more so they can do what? Save more. And now that we can save it in the right place where they can grow it and keep it tax-free on the way out. That's what I love about what we do. Let's go further. I can tell some of you guys might need more than that. We also give you the ability to hire people. Maybe you say to yourself, Wayne, this sounds great, but I'm not a salesperson. I don't know if I can do this. All good, no problem. Go hire 3 good salespeople. Go hire 3 people that you know have the gift of gab, right? That have a passion for helping people, have a passion for serving others. This would be a good opportunity for them. Share it with them. And if you do that, we'll bump you up to what's called a qualified field director, maybe 70% commission. Got a few of those on this call right now. Okay, now what does that mean? Well, if I hire 3 people making their 4 sales, they're making their $6,600, but I would make $8,400 because I'm getting 70% commission instead of 55%. That's one part of it, which is, as you can see here, $8,400. Well, what is this extra $5,400? Well, every time my sales staff writes a policy, I get a 15% override commission also. So that's where there's override income available. Okay, so that will give you maybe a 6-figure, $150,000 year income right there. All good, no problem. But if you're anything like me, you're in Northern California, that's not enough. Okay, I know my partners down in SoCal, like Benita, Southern California, is even worse. It's expensive to live these days. Okay, so maybe you might need to see a screen like this one, where you can learn to be what's called a regional field director like myself. Okay, I've been at PFA 7 years total, full-time 5.5. And no, these are not typos. These are real income numbers, guys. This is very real. And life can change at this point because we don't limit the amount of people you can hire. I realized something. No matter my biggest efforts in the car business, I can never get close to this kind of income. Not even close. I didn't have enough hours in the day, even though I made great money. I think we can all agree, if you had a $250,000 salary, that's pretty good money. Okay, still not enough. Not enough when you got 3 kids, 1 going to college, all 3 in private school. Not enough. Okay, life happens. Here's what I love. I started finding some friends all over the country that saw the vision, like my buddy Jesse up in Washington, like my friend Benita down in Southern California, okay, like my friend Mary out of Utah, my buddy Jordan out of Florida. We have teammates all over the place that are crushing this, helping people, serving people. And because of that, there's great reward available, okay? Lastly, I'll share with you, we love to take care of our people. If you got on early tonight, we're showing some of our compilation of our trip videos that PFA represents. And it literally is world-class, guys. Nothing against some of the great destinations around the US, the Disney Worlds of the world, but sending 600 people to Dubai is next level. Most companies wouldn't do anything like that. And that's what happened to us late in 2021, where they sent over 600 of us to Dubai, all expenses paid, no 1099 on the way home. And David told me, he says, look, don't worry about family vacations. Let me worry about that for you. You just get to work and serve in your community. And that's exactly what we've done. So in the 5.5 years that I've been here, we've made 6 trips. Okay? 5.5 full-time, 6 trips qualified, and from all over the place, gang. We just got back about a month ago from London, and some of our partners went to 2 trips, London and Ireland. And as you can see on the right there, with my 2 sons, we're in Dubai, directly across from the Burj Al Arab, the only 7-star hotel in the world. And that was all on PFA's dime, guys. And in the far left picture, you can see we're there in London, and the direct middle there, you see our CEO and founder, Mr. David Carroll, and our executive chairman to his left, Jack Wu, and our chief training officer, Rex. These are the guys that are spearheading this opportunity with us and mentoring us to teach us how to move this thing to the next level. I have 2 mentors in this company, David Carroll, the owner, and Jack Wu, okay? Both of those guys are multi-millionaires. So yeah, if those are the guys that you're learning from, what are the chances that you can learn to elevate your life? That's a big part of what we offer, guys, is mentorship. Proximity to people that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about. When you make your first 6 figures in income with us, in commissions, in the bank account, you're gonna get a nice $5,000 Super Bowl ring with 1 diamond on it. It's called the $1 Million Club ring in the insurance industry. And it has 9 empty slots, availability for more diamonds to add. So when you start hitting multiples of diamonds, like my friend Benita on the call here, who has 2 diamonds, that means she's earning over $200,000 a year income just in her PFA business. So they asked her to turn in her ring. They popped on another diamond for her, and now she's got 2 going to her 3rd, right? Really, really exciting stuff, guys, because when I first saw this exact same presentation a few years ago, I didn't really know if it was going to work out for me. I heard all this stuff. It sounded cool, but it wasn't until this stuff started coming to reality that I realized that, hey, wait a minute, I can help somebody else change their life because it changed mine, right? And this is very real. During COVID, we skyrocketed, okay? All right. Oh, I'm not going to show this video now, but you can kind of see the title of the video there. Maybe checking with the person that invited, they can show you this video. Our next trip for next year will be Greece, Athens, Greece. We're going to do a 5 Greek Isle tour on a private yacht, and also over to Istanbul, Turkey for our elite qualifiers. Guys, we do things next level, and we want people to be a part of that, to experience life in that way. But I would encourage you guys, if you're brand new tonight, take control of your time. get paid what you're worth, become your own boss, be independent, get back together with the person that invited you, get started with us. $125 one time. Okay, one time, that's it, right? The rest is getting assigned your trainer, getting connected, getting trained up, getting your license so we can help you making money. We don't make anything if you join us. We only make money when you're making money. So let's teach you how to do that as fast as possible. So with that, Mercedes, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Wayne. Does anybody have any questions? If you could please raise your virtual hand, we'll get your questions answered. I don't see any hands. Let me see. No,
Well, okay.
No questions. Oh, here we go. Alan, unmute yourself, please.
All right, let's ask him to unmute himself. Come on in,
There
Alan.
you go.
Hi, Wayne. I appreciate the time here, your presentation.
Thank you.
Did a great job. I had a question on ramp up period and when you can start getting paid. What does that look like in training in the very beginning?
Yeah, great question. When I got started, I had the exact same question. Okay, I wanted this thing to work yesterday. So let me just tell you my story. Every new agent, like I mentioned, you get assigned your own personal trainer, a certified field trainer. And what their process is to teach you what to do with your license when you finally get it. It's more important to teach Alan how to do things than it is just to pass a test. Are you with me? So they give you a 30-day, what we call fast start training process, your first 30 days to get you up to speed, to get you even a higher commission level if you want. The other is you got to do your homework and do your state license. So depending upon which state you're in, I'm in California, so we have to take a 32-hour online course, and then we take the state exam. So when I signed up in PFA, 8 days later, I was actually taking my state exam. Okay, so I jumped on that 32-hour course, passed the exam my first try, and then in 10 days, I completed our basic training. Even though they gave me 30, I completed it in 10. So then at that point, it was just a waiting game for the Department of Insurance to process everything, get my fingerprints back and all that kind of stuff. So by the end of that first month, I was ready to start writing policies. Yeah. So it's really up to you. It's really up to you and your desire of how quickly you want to jump on those things. We're going to give you a timeline. We're going to give you a process and what I call a pathway to get it done. And then you just got to step into it and do it. But it's really up to you.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question on that. Thanks. That trainer that you're assigned with PFA, is that somebody that invited you to the call today, or is it somebody like they assign you randomly?
Not necessarily. It's not random. What will typically happen, depending upon who invited you, sometimes they might already be a trainer. However, we have a process. So the very next step when somebody joins us is something called a QFD interview, where you, your recruiter, and the director of your team would sit down with you to find out what your goals are, find out your availability, to find out what your commitments are. And they have access to a whole bunch of trainers to be able to actually get you one that's aligned best for what your needs are. For example, if you seem like a young guy and let's say you would better relate with another young trainer that is in your age group, I would understand what you go through, right? Versus assigning you a trainer that's maybe twice your age, opposite sex, and has like 10 kids. Probably can't relate to you, right? And so what we do in that interview is to find out, okay, who would be the best fit for Alan based on what we know about him, what he's looking to do, and let's get him the best trainer that fits his needs. That's how that process would work. And sometimes it is the person that actually brought you in, right? But that's a process that we go through. Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for asking. Great questions.
Any more questions? I don't see any hands up. Any in the chat?
Yeah, you can use the chat too, guys. If you're too shy, it's okay too. Use the chat. No, I think we're good.
Looks like we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time tonight. Hope you got some value out of this. And like I mentioned, get back together with the person that invited you. Ask questions. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. Ask as many questions as possible, and we want to help you. We want to help you elevate that. Yeah.
Oh, we have a question in the chat. Sorry, Wayne.
Yes.
From Walter, does every state have a different exam?
Great question. No. So you take the exam one time in your home state. Okay. Here's the cool thing. Once you are licensed in your home state, you no longer have to take another exam to do business in another state. In the insurance industry, you only have to purchase what's called a non-resident license. So for example, I got licensed in California. If I want to do business in Texas, I just pay a fee to be licensed in Texas. And then within 24 to 48 hours, that license comes in, I'm ready to go. Really, really cool. So unlike real estate, where you actually have to take the exam every state you want to do business. Okay, so this is a lot quicker and simpler way to really expand your company and what you're looking to do. And our product is available in all 50 states. So. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Great. Cool. Any other questions?
I don't see any other. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you joining us. And we do this every Wednesday night. So if you guys have any more questions or you want to invite somebody else to come check us out, every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, we'll be doing this for you. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much.
Good night.